Camera speed.
Nelson George, Finding the Funk, take 2.
Okay, action.
I mean, James Brown's Big Payback album from 1973 is a good example of the effect of funk. I mean, the difference between a few years ago, James Brown's records were 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops. Now you have the Payback, which is one of my favorite funk jams. It's 7 minutes and 35 seconds of just hardcore funk. It was interesting about that particular song, which is a classic. The writing credits James Brown, Fred Wesley, who was the band arranger and
Sorry, Nels, keep your eye line to her. Keep looking at me.
Okay.
Start again. I'm so rolling.
One of the classic records, Godfather of Soul, James Brown, The Payback. And one of the ways you can really look at the effect of funk music is, look how long the cuts are on this album. The Big Payback, which is a classic track, 7 minutes and 35 seconds. Another record, Doing the Best I Can, is 7 minutes and 50 seconds. It's a double album. I mean, there's a track on here, Stone to the Bone, is 10 minutes long. Another track, Mind Power, is 10 minutes long. So these songs have really got longer, and they're really about the instrumental. I mean, James is obviously the focus in terms of vocally, but it's about the power of the tracks and the interplay of the band. Interesting enough, on the classic, The Payback, where he says, I don't know karate, but I know Kareza, James Brown is credited as writer, along with Fred Wesley, who ran the JBs, and John Starks. John Starks is Jabbo Starks. He was the drummer in James Brown's JBs, and it's very rare to see drummers get songwriting credit in any song. And so his contribution to that record and the creation was essential. So that's one of those records that really speaks to what funk is all about, and the strength, the length of it, and also the kind of political content that was going on in a lot of it. I mean, the liner notes here are written actually by Alan Leeds, Alan W. Leeds, who was James Brown's road manager, went on to become Prince's road manager, went on to become Maxwell and D'Angelo's road manager. Alan has done work with everybody, and he writes at one point, it's time for payback, the big payback. It's hard, but it's fair, because now it's time for even the Godfather to take his best shot, and payback is gonna be a mother. And that's some real funk writing right there, folks. So funk was definitely a different departure from soul. It was more aggressive and more assertive.
What is the most important funk city?
The most important funk city is probably Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Ohio? What do you mean Dayton, Ohio? Well, Dayton, Ohio, for whatever reason, became ground zero for a bunch of amazing bands to come out of. Among the bands, the most important, Ohio Players, with their wonderful gatefold covers. They came out of Dayton, Ohio. Slave came out of Dayton, Ohio, and also Steve Arrington, who went on to have a great solo career. Junie Morrison, the great keyboard player, who was in both the Ohio Players and P-Funk at one point. Heatwave, best known for the ballad Always and Forever, but several of their members are from Dayton. There's a band called Dayton. Band called Phaso, Platypus. And actually very, very important, Zap came out of Dayton, as well as Roger. They're tied together. So, and I'm missing, there's a bunch of other artists out of that city. Just up the road is Cincinnati. And Cincinnati is where Bootsy's from. So the connection between Dayton, Cincinnati, or just remarkable amount of talent that came out of there. Several reasons, for the alchemy and magic of why Dayton became this place. One is, it was not a big city, but it had an Air Force base. It had 2 very big factories. So people had employment, especially in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. So there were jobs. Also, people in Dayton had jobs. They also had discretionary income. They had money to party on the weekends. And people had money to have instruments and have bands. So there was a whole club circuit in Dayton. And Dayton was also supported by the fact that being in the middle of Ohio, they weren't far from Ohio State. They weren't far from Ohio Wesleyan. There were all these universities. So the bands not only could play in Dayton or Cincinnati, they could also play this kind of college circuit. So you had a perfect storm of location, a black community that had money, and places to play. They also weren't that far. You can go straight up to Chicago. So, for example, like the Ohio Players were on Mercury, which was then out of Chicago. So a lot of these bands also had this connection where they could go up north and get recording deals. But once the Ohio Players broke through, it seemed like people went to Dayton looking for the talent and trying to find it. And so Dayton, Ohio, is one of those places that doesn't get a lot of people don't really think about it. You know, it's Dayton, Ohio. What the hell? Dayton, Ohio nowadays is best known for its minor league baseball team. It has one of the best, the biggest, and most successful minor league baseball teams in the country. But in the 70s and 80s, Dayton was Funky Town, USA, and those bands and those artists continue on to this day.
Okay, cut.
Sure.
Cut.